All right, Lucy, thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Good to you too.
Good, good. Well, you're based in Kenya, and I actually had an opportunity of meeting you a few years back when we did the Shiro Runway Empowerment Conference back in 2019. And we had been communicating before that because we ran your story some years ago. And it was so nice to see you in person and have you participate in the conference. And I'm glad that you are joining me today. How are things going for you? How have things been?
I've been good. I can't complain. So far so good. I'm doing okay.
Good, good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. So the reason why I reached out to you for this interview is we're doing a theme this month on The Way She Carries on body positivity and talking to women who have been through whether it's trauma or injury or something significant surrounding their bodies. And for you, your parents decided when you were young that you and your sisters were not going to undergo FGM, which was a very common practice in your community. But as a result of that, you were publicly shamed. So, can you talk to me about how that was like for you as a little girl, and realizing that you were different from others and that your parents didn't want you to undergo something that was very common at the time?
Okay. By the time I think I was about 10 or 11 years when my parents said, no, you want to go through FGM. Maybe it's because they had been exposed out here. They knew the effects of FGM. So my mom was like, no, I can't allow you to go through FGM because it doesn't add any value to any girl's life. But then, me too, I didn't want to go through it because one, I had earlier on been defiled, so I was not that like I really wanted my privacy to be exposed out there. So that's another thing me too, I didn't want to go through it.
So what was like, when your mother said no, but then your friends around you are getting to that age where now they're all kind of going through this cultural practice. So how did that now affect you?
There was that part of stigma because all my age mates now went through it. I was the remaining only person in that village. By then I was living with my grandmom, and it was not that easy. No one even wanted to associate with me. Even the girls of my age, they didn't want to play with me or even go anywhere with me. So I was all alone doing my own things in school. I could see that they viewed me in a different way. Maybe they saw me, I was not in that, like in their cycle. So I was a lonely person. That really affected me. I felt rejected. I felt like maybe there was something like wrong with me. So it was not that easy. But again, the assurance that I was getting from my parents kept me going. When my parents then realized that I was even academically dropping down, they had to come for me from the village and then they brought me in the city.
Okay. And did that make a big difference moving from the village to the city?
Yes, it did. Actually, I even improved in my academics when I changed the school And then my self-esteem started now being okay. Unlike when I was back in the village, there was a difference.
Yeah. What were some of the things that people would say to you because you had not undergone FGM?
There are some names in our community, and one is not cut. There's some names that you are being labeled, and then you are being told that you are not a complete woman. Actually, that's what they usually say. If you've not gone through FGM, you are not a complete woman. You will not get married because they believe that you cannot get married in our community if you've not gone through FGM. There are some activities they won't allow you to perform. So like you have limited things you can do in the community. They view you as someone who has not uh, completed the customs and the traditions.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and this is something that's very public, right? Everyone knows who has undergone FGM and who hasn't.
Yeah, it's something that is public. You see, they usually do it publicly. They hold parties to celebrate if a girl has gone through FGM. They give her gifts. So you find that in your village, people will know. It will be obvious that this girl has not gone through FGM because we didn't see their parents having celebrations. We didn't see her walking around because when you've gone through that FGM, there's some clothes that you are supposed to wear for that period of time until you heal, and then they will have another party to celebrate you now that you are from that stage to another stage, now from childhood to adulthood or womanhood. Actually, that they call it that way. Even if you are 11 years, 12 years, you've gone through FGM, non, you are a complete woman. Even if you are underage, they'll still see you as a woman now who is ready even for marriage.
Wow. Wow. Even at that young age.
Yeah.
My
Once you
goodness.
get once you
Go ahead.
are you are once you are mutilated or you've gone through that FGM, then even you are ready for marriage. You are ready for marriage. They see you as a woman who can get married and have kids, and even stay with a man. You be called a wife.
Because there's so many dangers associated with FGM, and some girls even die as a result of they get infections or they get other complications that happen, or they just bleed, because it's such an invasive procedure that they do. So now you have moved to Nairobi, and now you no longer have this continuous public shaming because your body is different from the other girls. What did this do to your self-esteem, and how were how did it impact you now that you are in a different environment that accepted you?
There was a change. I can say there was a bit of change because me moving from the village to the city was solving one problem, of which that was like the stigma I was having there and the rejection. I came to the city, and then I started now having confidence in myself. But again, there was something else that was disturbing me because I had gone through defilement, and because I had not shared with anyone. So I was really struggling with that trauma, which I had not talked to anyone. I had not gone even through professional counseling. So me coming to the city was just like solving one problem, but there was something else that I had not dealt with. but my self-esteem was a bit okay, and the confidence I had. Because if I remember, academically, I started doing well. I remember I came to the city when I was here in Kenya. By then we used to call the curriculum that you are maybe in class 6, class 7. So I came, joined class 7, and then I started performing very well. When I went to class 8, I even topped in our national exam, which
Mm,
was an improvement for me.
yeah, yeah. So now, like you have the two things that have happened to you. You have, as you mentioned, you had been violated at a young age, and then now you had been publicly shamed. So oftentimes, people who are violated, they carry shame about what was done to them, and so you kind of had, this a double shaming, so to speak. One of which maybe you're shaming yourself, and then also being publicly shamed. So how were you able to now kind of build on yourself to be able to view your body in a positive light?
It really took me time to really start viewing myself as someone who is very important, someone who's I actually used to hate myself even when I was in high school, when I finished school, uh, until 2018, when now I said enough is enough because it was like I was punishing myself for the things that were done to me. That was not my fault. It was someone else's fault that I was punishing myself, my body, and even having bitterness. So I had to let this go. The first thing was to share, to just let go that burden from my heart. And then the second thing was to seek for professional counseling to let out the trauma, the bitterness, the grudges that I had, and forgiveness. I had to move on. In order to move on, I had to forgive the perpetrator, and then now I start like to to see myself as someone who is important, someone who didn't do a mistake, it was someone else's mistake. That's how I changed viewing myself, and then now I started loving myself. That was my turning point.
Yeah, yeah. Forgiveness was a big part of that, and realizing that you were not to blame.
Sure. That was my
Yeah,
turning point. Immediately, I said that I have forgiven this person. Uh, Now I felt relieved, and then now I said, no, I have to start like loving myself. I have to start having that confidence in me because there is life after everything that happens to you. There is life.
yes. And something positive that came out of your whole experience is that it launched you into your purpose, and you began to be the voice for many other girls out there who would have been would have had to undergo FGM, but you were saying, no, 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 let me go and educate the people in the village to tell them that this is wrong. Our girls need, they need to be protected against this terrible practice. Talk to us about your organization and what you've been doing in the community.
Having come out to share my story, I realized that through sharing my story, there are so many women who reached out to me. They would tell me the same things happened to them, or the same things have happened to to their relatives, to their children, and they can't talk about it because they fear being victimized. So I said, no, this is what I need to do. And then I felt I had that passion to be a voice to the voiceless. And that's how I started my organization. At first, I started like I wanted to give out sanitary towels to school-going girls, the needy girls in our community. That's how I started, and then now I had to expand, talk about GBV, of which it's not that much talked back in our community. People fear talking about it. Even the women go through violence, but for fear of how the society will view them, they just keep quiet. So I had to be their voice. That's how I started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I always admire what you have done in the community, and even our back and forth. You're doing so much now because now you have a business as well. You're doing hair and doing all kinds of things. So, it's you need a lot of self-confidence to believe capable of doing something, and it seems that you have just that.
Yeah, I can say I wear so many hats. You find that I'm a mother, I have kids, that's a family. I also have business because as much as I'm involving myself in the community, I have also to look at myself. I have uh, to empower myself. I have bills to pay, so I have to work. And then for me, I'm a business oriented person. So I find that business for me works. That's why I'm working, and then I'm also doing community work. I have to balance the three: family, business, and then community work. Yeah. When I get a chance, I rush home
Yeah.
where I have people who mobilize for me, the girls and the women, of which since last year I started involving men in this fight, especially FGM, because you find that from where I come from, men are the decision makers. So we cannot really say that we want to
Mm.
end FGM without involving them. Them being decision makers, we have to educate them, tell them the effects of FGM so that they won't push their daughters to go through it. We can talk to the girls, we can talk to their mothers, but when they go back home, the man will be the one giving out decisions. That's why we have to involve the men too. Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah. I think.
empowering women. You find that if a woman is economically empowered, then that's changing the society. That is like the whole society is empowered.
But the last question I'll ask you is, what advice do you have for young girls out there or young women who were once like you, who wanted, in your case, it was your parents who wanted to preserve your body. So for girls out there who are different, who are being publicly shamed because they are not, have not undergone FGM, what advice do you have for those young women?
I would tell them first, they should society or other people how they view them. It's them. They should know their worth. They should find their identity. Once you find who you are, then you won't be bothered with what other people are saying. Another thing, they should try to understand their bodies, what they need, whatever is in their bodies, it's how God created their bodies, because that's how God created them. And even the Bible tells us that we are created in the image of God. So we are wonderfully created and perfectly created. There's nothing wrong with the way we are. So they should appreciate themselves and not even be bothered with what the society says. Because the pressure that the society that is putting on women, that's what is making them to make wrong decisions. It's the society that is pushing women to even stay in toxic marriages. They end up getting killed. Someone knows that here where I am, it's dangerous. My life is in danger. But because the society out there is like, no, you don't have to move out. Just stay where you are. You have to be there. There we find that we have so many women losing their lives because of the pressure from the society.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It really is a very difficult issue because it's such a painful thing for so many people. But I'm glad that you're one of the ones who were able to come out of that community without having to undergo. Because who knows what would have happened had you undergone FGM.
Yeah, I'm really glad of myself. I don't have any regrets for not going through FGM. I'm happy. Just the other day, someone was sharing with me, and she was like, she really gets inspired with what I do, because she had to open up with me, tell me that she went through FGM. Though we don't come from the same community, she's from a different community, even didn't know that their community has FGM. She told me that for a long time she has gone through trauma. It's not that she's trying to come out. Now you see that she's trying to live now her life and getting out of that trauma that she had when she was circumcised.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And it's people like that who look up to you and realize that they can do it too. So thank you for being such a positive impact in your community and being a woman who's out there who's unashamed to own her story and to tell it because that's how other people are able to feel empowered to tell their own stories. So thank you so much, Lucy, for joining me. I'm so glad that we were able to connect. I wish you the best of luck as you continue to be out there in the communities and sharing this important message. I'm also praying that God also gives you success in your business, continued success, and that you'll be able to enjoy the abundant life that He's for you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really honored to be in this interview. Thank you. And may God bless you too, Vimbai.